Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I just wanted to hop on and do this really quick episode. I don't usually do them back to back. I don't even have any intro music, but welcome to the Jelly Moose's Cafe, to your Mima's World. So I wanted to come on really, really quick and talk about being unequally yoked. And the reason that I'm talking about this is because I got a phone call this morning from a woman who owns a company, and I had applied for a position there. And I think I talked about it in the last episode of where if I took the position, I would be the only woman in the office. And so the owner is a female, and she called me this morning, I guess, to offer me the position. She was asking what I thought about the company, what I thought about sitting with them on Friday with the position and blah, blah, blah. And I told her, I said, the company sounds great. The job is not hard. It's something that I've done before, but I have to respectfully withdraw my application and decline because when I asked if I would be the only female in the office, I was told, other than you, which you're not in the office every day, then yes. And I told her, I said, I can't do that. I can't sit in an office 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just being around male energy. I said I would feed into it too much, and or I would absorb that energy, and I couldn't do that. And I could hear my father, in the spirit saying, "No, baby girl, you're not going to do that." So they are still protecting me, and they're giving me advice, but the woman didn't understand. She was like, well, they're a great, group of guys. They're a great bunch of guys. And I was like, well, when I went in a couple of weeks ago for the initial interview, there was another woman in the office, and she's not there anymore. And she said, well, there are a couple of people that are training for part-time positions to work on the weekends. And I'm like, well, yeah. I said, I can't do that. And I could tell by the silence that she didn't understand that. And so when she said they're a great group of guys, they're a great bunch of guys, I just kept thinking to myself, and she's a white woman, I kept thinking to myself, a lot of white women thought that the guys that went to the Capitol on January 6th were a great group of guys. A lot of white women during the times of slavery thought that their enslaver husbands were a great bunch of guys. A lot of white women thought that the Klansmen were a great group of guys. And so she didn't understand why I was declining to work because I would be the only female and then the only black person in the office altogether. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So she said, well, I appreciate your time and good luck. And I was like, I don't need your luck, honey. I'm fine. And I was like, well, good luck to you finding somebody, because apparently they have had other women to work and leave the position. And I'm thinking that they're leaving it because they're the only female in the office and they didn't want to take that energy, whether they were black, white, red, purple, yellow, or orange. But she just didn't get it. And so it brought me to a conclusion of being, not only can you be unequally yoked in a marriage, but you can be unequally yoked in other relationships, whether it's friendships or whether it's workplace, your religious organization. You can be unequally yoked there as well. I heard a podcast a couple of months ago where it was talking about being spiritual or spirituality in the workplace. And there was an African woman. It's a podcast, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's African, and he talks a lot about African traditional religions and things of that nature. And he has different guests on his show. And he had a woman on his show who was talking about African spirituality in the workplace. And I believe that she lives in Africa. So her workplace would not have been so much of it being racially diverse, but spiritually diverse, because a lot of our African brothers and sisters are still under the colonial Christianity. And so she was talking about how she would go to work, and sometimes people would find out what she practiced, and she was a Sangoma. People would find out what she practiced, and there were some people who would shun her, and then there would be some people who would come to her and ask her for advice, kind of on the down low, not wanting other people to know that they were inquiring of her. She was saying that because she wears like shea butter, oils, she wears different types of oils. Some people were complaining about the smell of the shea butter oils. Some were embracing it. So there were times on her job where she was unequally yoked to her other fellow employees. But she found some people who were willing to accept that. And we know no matter what you practice, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you are a spiritualist, whatever it is that you practice, that is your faith, that is your beliefs, that you don't take that off when you go to work. And so on every other job that I have had, I have been able to find somebody in the office or in the company with the same faith or beliefs that I had. When I was, of course, a practicing Christian, they were all over the place because that's the majority of people you're going to find. And then when I studied Judaism, I still found people at work they may have been Messianic Jews, but they still had that commonality of the Jewish beliefs. And now following hoodoo and following an African traditional belief system, even at the job that I am at now, there are young people who are leaving the church and are looking for something else, and they're kind of coming to me and asking me questions. So I have that commonality with them as well. But this job, there is no commonality. I would have nothing in common with those white men, absolutely nothing. And we know that we spend the majority of our waking hours are spent at a job. You work 8 hours, you're there 9 hours because you may get an hour lunch or half an hour for lunch, but you're there 8.5, 9 hours. You have some of us have an hour commute, some have less, but you have at least an hour commute if you're going back and forth. So you're at that job 10, 11 hours, your energy is towards that job. And then you sleep for 8 hours. So the majority of your time, your waking hours, you're spending at a job. And the majority of my waking hours would have been spent in the company of white people, white men to be specific. Again, I would have nothing in common with them. I couldn't talk about with them female issues. I thought about the fact of using the same bathroom as them. I couldn't talk about the things that are going on in the Black community. I couldn't talk about any type of political things. I couldn't talk about any type of religious things. I would have for 9.5 hours of sitting there almost in silence, the way my ancestors would have done when they were on the plantation. Of just sitting, doing my work and not really talking to anyone because, again, nothing in common. So I just wanted to say that be careful not to just take jobs because they're offering. Always know that you can you don't have to take these jobs. And I know sometimes we get in a position where we're like, oh, I need this job, I need this job, I need this job. Inquire of your ancestors. Inquire of your spirit guides. Inquire of the Most High before you take a position, especially one that would have you feeling like you're unequally yoked. I remember when I worked at the cable company, and in my area, there were only 4 of us that was set in the area, and one of them was a white guy, and he cursed like a sailor. I mean, every other word that came out of his mouth was F this, MF, MF, MF. I mean, every day, all day long, 8 hours a day, that's all I heard. And I'm not saying that I don't curse. I do, but not like a sailor. And I found myself, when I would go home and I would be in traffic and traffic would be bad or backed up or whatever, I would curse. And I would be MF and F this. And I'm like, why am I talking like this? And I realized it was because I sat next to him for 8 hours a day, every day. And that's what I heard. Being a Pan-Africanist, being a Black woman, being a person who follows African traditional systems, being someone who is trying to help the Black community to get back and to decolonize our minds, and all of that would be not lost, but it would be diluted. Because just like our ancestors, when they integrated, they not just integrated, they assimilated into Western culture. And I dare say that a lot of us are still assimilating into Western culture because we are in a workspace where there aren't too many people that look like us and that share the same values that we have. When it comes down to, for example, when we send our children to college and they are at a white school, and we can't be surprised if they come home with a white girl or boy on their arm, because there are no opportunities or very little opportunities to date someone that looks like them, that have the same core values. When Queen Mother Coretta Scott King, when she was in school, Antioch College, she states in her memoirs that there weren't a lot of Black boys to choose from to date. And so she ended up dating a Jewish white boy. They didn't date long, but those were her choices. The same thing with Martin. When Martin was in college, there weren't a lot of Black women for him to date. He ended up dating a white girl. And then him and Coretta ended up at the same school and they found each other. But when you don't have the opportunities, and I'm not talking about just about dating, I'm talking about opportunities to share your ideas and your beliefs with people that look like you and may share the same thing. Either you're going to start assimilating into their beliefs and you're going to become colonized again. And I consider myself a pretty strong person, strong-willed person. I know that I would never be colonized again. Nothing that they could ever say to me that would change my belief system now. But just being under the yoke of the descendants of those that oppressed my ancestors would leave me depleted, I think. So I just wanted to hop on really quick and just say that, yeah, be careful. Be careful of jobs that you take. Make sure that there is somebody in that job, that's at that job, that's going to, if they don't have your same beliefs as far as your spiritual beliefs, your religious beliefs, make sure they have the same beliefs when it comes to your values. And I'm talking about the values that you have for the Black community. Because white people right now, they are coming out of the woodwork. Those that claim to be allies are just a lie. So yeah, be careful. Don't be unequally yoked, even on your job. Not even on your job. All right, so you guys have a great day. I just wanted to hop on really quick to say that. And yeah, don't be unequally yoked. Have a great day. Power to the Black people, Black excellence all day, every day.